Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. How's your coffee? Do you need more?
No, all good. Cool. Thank you.
No, I've been trying to limit myself to 2 a day. 2 double shots a day.
Yeah. You got to count the shots in each one. It's cheating.
It is cheating. All right, so this is for Clementine and Otis. All right, big shout out to locally owned Skateshop Kingpin. Okay, if you go to kingpinstore.com, that's KINGPINSTORE.com, use promo code THT at checkout, and you'll get the 15% discount, fast shipping worldwide, support local. Next up, our environmental fashion advocates, Indosol Footwear. They've got fast shipping worldwide, supporting THT since episode 33. So go to indosol.com. That's INDOSOLE.com. You'll be automatically redirected to the distributor in your region. Shipping is fast. Use code THT at checkout. You'll get a 15% discount. And lastly, a product that I really advocate for. It's got amazing natural health benefits. It's a great supplement, and that's from Crush Organics CBD products. If you go to crushorganics.com, that's KRUSHORGANICS.com. Use code THT at checkout. Get the 40% discount. Fast shipping worldwide. Yes, Jess, you ready to roll?
I'm ready.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Whoa.
Go. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do this. Today's guest is Jess Whitaker. Jess is a wife, mother, and paramedic. She holds a Bachelor of Science from the University of Wollongong in New South Wales, Australia. And most recently, she was the lead candidate for the Greens political party. Jess is a vocal and proactive advocate for environmental and community initiatives, such as beach cleanups, tree planting, and public skate parks. Today, Jess is with me live and in person on the back deck to share her journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mrs. Jess Whitaker, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to get stuck straight into it. Why did you throw your hat into the political ring?
Yeah, I don't know. I never thought I would be a politician, and I'm still not. So this was for the local government elections in Wollongong, and they haven't declared it yet, but I have declared that we haven't won.
Why have you declared that straight away? Without
just looking at the counts and who we were trying to beat the Liberal Party for the 4th seat in Ward 3, which is southern Wollongong, which is fairly lower socioeconomic area of Wollongong. It's a very big, sprawling electorate, and we're on 12%, and we need to be at 20% after preferences. So we're not quite there. Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
So what, there will be a second time for you?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll see what I'm doing in 2024 when pre-selection comes up.
Yeah. So I would like to, if you wouldn't mind, I want to put this in layman's terms, because I know for me personally, I feel a personal disconnect to local political politics, and government, structures. And I kind of get the sense that there's many people who feel the same. So can you put it into layman's terms for us? Like, so if you said that you were running for the Ward 3 candidate, like what does that look like in terms of your place in guiding big picture strategic directions?
So, I love local government because you can get so much done, and I can't believe that skateboarders aren't interested in local government, because that's how you get skate parks built. So, I don't know, I guess I was inspired. I was already politically engaged, but then a Green senator said to me once was, even though you could be disillusioned with politics, you're over it, you want to shut off. That's the system we have. So if you don't work with it and be engaged with it, then you lose basically. So I made the choice to be engaged and be part of it. So, yeah, I mean,
Well, what is again, like, it was a pretty layered question I just gave you, but like, what would it mean if you did become the Ward 3, I guess, candidate? Or, appointed member at Ward 3.
So in Wollongong we have 3 wards, and in each ward we have 4 councillors, and then we have a mayor. So there's 13 people at the table who make a lot of the decisions on council and have a vote. So in Wollongong, 6 of those seats usually go to Labor. So if they got the mayor as well, they would have control of the council, and they wouldn't really have to negotiate with anyone else. They could just have the casting vote on everything. But in Wollongong, we have an independent mayor. That's Gordon Bradbury. And
he's been on the podcast, actually.
Has he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy, but he so the structure in Wollongong is actually really good, because even though like there's like some really conservative councillors, there's a lot of balance, and we have 2 Greens councillors, that's Kath Blakey and Mithra Cox, and they're in Wards 1 and 2. And even though there's only 2 of them, they've gotten a lot done, and they're responsible, or part of a lot of the changes we've seen in the city. So with, becoming a more pedestrian and bike-friendly city, we got the FOGO, we got action on climate. With Labor, we got declared the climate emergency, which is, that's meaning that the council's doing so much more to reduce their emissions than they would have to if they didn't get that declared. And I think because Kath and Mithra have made politics, like local government politics, so accessible to people like me, I became engaged because they let me come along for the ride, and they were around and explained things, and I think that's part of it.
So like you said, out of 14 members, 13 members.
Yep.
Currently, there's 2 Greens Party members.
Yep.
And 6 Labor members.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the remainder?
And then looks like there's 3 Liberals. There's 1 in each ward, and then there's Gordon Bradbury and Dom Figlamini. They're independents, and they're sort of, Dom's more conservative than Gordon. He generally just votes with the Liberals, even though he says he's independent. So he's down in Ward 3. But the seat we were after in Ward 3, we were trying to get the Liberal seat in Ward 3, but we just didn't quite get there.
Well, it hasn't been finalised yet.
Yeah.
I sense, some dismay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in yourself to do it. Like, I never would have done it if I didn't think I could get there, but I didn't get there. Like, we were coming from a 9% primary vote and we got to 12.5%. But the thing that really gets me down is that, like, there was an enormous informal vote, and there was really poor.
For those that don't know, describe an informal vote, like a donkey vote?
I don't think they were donkey votes. It was misunderstanding the ballot, because we couldn't hand out how to vote cards.
Why?
Because it was like a pandemic requirement for the election.
It was a health reason, restriction, that you couldn't physically hold a brochure or a pamphlet and hand it to someone else for safety reasons?
Yeah, we couldn't do that.
Yeah, okay.
Even though some parties still did, we didn't. We didn't even print them because that was the rule, so we just stuck to it. So there was this enormous informal vote, and it was in the seats that probably wouldn't have really voted Liberal. Like, Labor probably lost more votes than anyone. But like Warrawong Public School, 45% of the ballots weren't counted.
Because the actual voting ballot sheet wasn't filled out correctly?
Yes. Like, they either put a cross.
What does that look like? Oh, so if they put a cross instead of a tick?
Instead of a 1.
Oh, instead of a 1, sorry.
Or yeah.
I did a 1. I didn't do a tick.
Okay. Well done.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, really? So that's it.
They just walked in. They couldn't either understand what they were being asked to do, because it's like above and below the line. So if you can either vote above or below, and if you do both, you can show that you had clear intention, and that can be counted. But I don't know, for whatever reason, there was 45% of those ballots at one booth. And other booths like Cringilla was 35%, Berkeley 35%. So, like, that's way more a vote than I even got, and all those ballots are going in the bin.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, in Australia, we have mandated voting for the public. What are your opinions on that? Do you think we would be better placed to, have, like America, where you can just you choose to vote?
No, I don't
You don't think
that's
so?
a good idea. No.
Okay.
I think we should
Why?
stick with because
Well, don't you think you'd have more engaged voters and people that are actually, contemplating the process and who they're actually voting for?
No, because I think people become engaged because they have to do it. And you see people turn up and they're like, okay, I'm here to vote. What do I do? And then they see the process and they're like that sort of, if they didn't have to, they probably wouldn't do it and then they would never be engaged.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of people turning up for the first time to vote, and some of them are really excited and it's really cute. And and I just think it's something that we should do and we should value, and, democracy is really important and everyone should participate if they're physically able to.
Yeah. I guess for me, and I guess I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit in terms of like the notion of mandated voting kind of goes against the idea of democracy in my mind sometimes. I don't know. That's just an observation.
Yeah, I can see that point, but I think it falls apart if we don't have these requirements for everyone to participate.
Yeah.
And you see in elections in the US, half the campaign is just getting people to turn up and vote. That's all. Like, you see Obama's campaign was like, vote, just vote. Like, everyone, please vote. And
so they're spending more
policy.
time like begging people to vote as opposed to, outlining their policies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. But we sort of do that as well because we're, in a way, we're like, please, young people, get on the electoral roll, because there's heaps more young people that would vote Green than older votes. They seem to be pretty stuck with, red or blue. So, the more young people we can get on the electoral roll, the better it is for the Greens.
I feel like this latest generation of new voters, we're dealing with a generation that has more access to information than they ever have. And there's a real culture of research and searching. Everyone, I think young people these days, they Google everything. I feel like they're the most informed generation. Do you think this generation of new voters coming through will be a more engaged political generation than the previous generation?
I don't know. I hope so. I hope they're not just depressed at the current state of things. Because at the moment, we're so outnumbered. Young people compared to older people, especially in my electorate, it was 5 to 1. And it feels like even if they did vote Green or whatever, then there's 5 other older people who probably are either voting Liberal or Labor, and we just never, it's hard to crack that.
Yeah. You said that you've always been politically engaged as a person. Yeah? Would you agree with that? So, why?
Well, I guess not always. Maybe I don't know.
Of more recent times.
I think when Julia Gillard got in, I really liked her, and I found her very inspirational. I thought she was really good. And that's after we got rid of Howard, I was happy to be engaged, I think. I was quite young when Howard was around, and
Okay, why Labor?
It's not about being a party. I just found her as a person and as a leader, a very good leader.
And I agree with you. I'm one of those people who will vote for the person. I want to be inspired by that person, and I want to understand their psyche to a degree. But I guess we live in a country where when you vote, you're voting for the party, not the person. Do you think that's problematic for people? Because I'll go on a little bit more. I got so disheartened. I get really disheartened when a political party just removes their leader because they're not happy with how they're performing. Where's the solidarity? Where's the I guess, where's the commitment to that person?
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
it
brutal.
makes me lose, I guess, faith that I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, really. But
yeah, particularly if they're being voted in by the people who turned up to vote because they had to.
yeah,
I really like the idea of a party. Like a lot of people have said to me, you know, why'd you run for the Greens? Why don't you run as independent? And I'm like, you have to be like a millionaire to run as an independent. Like just an everyday, you know, activist like me can't just go, I'm going to run as an independent. I would probably get like 3 or 4% of the vote instead of 12. And the thing about running with a party is you have, you know, volunteers, you have funding, you have policies that are written and people can read. And instead of just being like this, you know, one charismatic leader as, you know, like an independent would be, like you can go and look up what our policies are and they're well thought out and they're agreed by a group of people. It's not just someone like me saying, oh, you know, today I'm going to make this decision. And yeah, so you can see, okay, what we stand for.
Cool. Yeah, because that was actually one of my questions, like why the Greens? So, and you said to run as an independent, you have to basically be a millionaire. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's problematic in itself because an independent can also acquire funding from outside sources, correct?
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to either be a really good fundraiser, well connected, and for an independent to, like outside of local government, for an independent to get up in Wollongong, like that's a pipe dream because Labor's so strong here.
They are. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess too. I mean, as going back to that funding issue, I mean, it does it open up to financial influence of a candidate?
Yeah, but I don't probably like for someone like Sally Stegel, like I feel like someone like that has really good integrity and maybe if there wasn't any influence, it's nothing compared to like what we're seeing with Labor and Liberal and the fossil fuel industry. So, yeah.
So you care for the environment. That's something that's always been part of you as a individual?
Yeah, I think that's why I did a science degree out of school because I ended up doing marine science and I just thought, you know, if I'm a researcher, I can help look after the environment. And then as things went on, I realised that science, people write reports and they get put on a shelf and nothing happens with them and where the decisions made are in politics. And so if you do want to make a real difference, then that was the avenue I ended up going down.
Yeah, amazing. It's really admirable. I just think I've just got so much admiration for anyone that does have the courage to put themselves out there like you have and take a step into, I guess, the unknown and trial it out. And I feel like personally that you're on a journey, like you mentioned that, well, I might go again, but I think the next time you go into it, you're going to go into it with such, you know, clarity and experience from the first time. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Like how taxing was the campaigning process on you, I guess, mentally and physically?
Yeah, it was pretty. I think I slept for like a week. I just went to ground afterwards, and I didn't realize how tired I was until it was all over. And then I just had, I don't know how. We had to go and pull down all the signs the next day on the Monday. And physically I couldn't even do it. I just drove around and my husband just did it all. He's like, it's all right. You just drive. I'll do all the legwork.
Oh, what a legend.
Yeah, that was nice of him. But it's important to get all that stuff tidied up and then you can just sleep.
Yeah. So that's what the campaign trail involved for you. Was it, I guess poster boards and what, were you doing much press? I don't know. Like I know you're at the polling booths on the day, but like, how long was that process of actually campaigning?
Well, because the election was delayed, like I've sort of been a candidate for 18 months, which is a really long time. But like leading it, I felt like as soon as we did our announcement that I was going to run, then there wasn't like a lot of media and stuff like that because as soon as you become a Greens candidate, it feels like they ignore you.
Why?
I don't know. Like I used to do heaps of media about different pollution issues and things like that. But as soon as you become, you have to sort of do your own press releases and like try and chase them to do stuff, or just ring in the radio when you can.
Do you think the Greens Party has a bit of a image of being militant?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think
know.
so. I'm just sort of throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely less conservative.
We get a lot of mud thrown at us. Like, I feel like people, I don't know, it just feels like when I was standing on the polling booths, like the impression was that we were extreme or radical, and I just see that that's like people watching Sky News or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to that.
I sometimes wonder if it's just the name of the party too. I mean, it just conjures images of the Greens. So
Yeah, protest party,
tree hugging hippies.
Yeah.
So much more.
Maybe we need to rebrand.
Yeah, so like you grew up in the Illawarra, okay, which was in the southeast coast of Australia, New South Wales.
Yeah.
Describe growing up in this region.
Yeah, so I grew up in Bulli, and there's something just awesome about living sort of between the mountains and the sea, and I was just really grateful to grow up in that part of the world. Grew up surfing my whole life, went to Bulli High, public education, and then, moved away. I lived overseas in California for a year, went to Indonesia, those sorts of things. But every time you come back, you just come back down that mountain and you just feel so grateful to be home.
There is something amazing about driving down Mount Ousley and then seeing the whole coastline, There's nowhere else like it in the world, really. But what were you doing in California?
When I finished uni, I went over and did a season at Mammoth. Just worked on the lifts there, snowboarded, and then I went to Santa Barbara and lived there for a year. Just worked at a local surf school there. And
a surf instructor?
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was like, we just I shared a house with some other guys, and we lived near the harbour there, and just went out and worked and partied and had heaps of fun. It was, a really good experience. Awesome little town.
How would you describe your experience in public education in Australia? Like overall, was it positive?
Yeah, it was positive. It's like you sort of had to, like, if you wanted to do well, you had to sort of fight for it, I think, back when I was in high school. And a lot of kids got left behind, I think. But hopefully, I feel like things have changed a little bit. Like, it feels like education's moved forward a lot since then.
Yeah, I think it has. I think the accreditation process over here is, although it can be more taxing for teachers, I feel like it definitely weeds out the ones that are really committed and dedicated, and the ones that aren't pulling their weight, and kind of, gently gets highlighted to them, and so maybe they make a different decision. And that's my opinion. I think public education has the best teachers,
Yeah, absolutely.
They could be way more supported by the government, but I still think it's compared to the rest of the world, I think we have a pretty strong public education system. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And the backbone of that is the teachers and the awesome work they do. And, like a lot of government employees, I think they're undervalued, and, especially after being through a pandemic and all the risk you take in being, in a room with lots of people, it's something that needs to be looked at, and how we value our frontline workers and the contribution they make to society.
Thank you for saying that, because I know you're a frontline worker too, and I want to go into that. But going back to it, when we had the first lockdown in 2020, and then after that, teachers were expected to go back to work. There was no social distancing whatsoever. I remember being in a classroom, a standard classroom size. There's me and 30 young people, and there was just no consideration of that on our safety. Okay, and then in the second lockdown, it was like all the students had to wear masks. But I don't know if people understand how difficult it is to get a teenager to keep a mask on, for an hour at a time. It's and then what that led to was a lot of conflict. Like, hey, put your mask back on. I don't want to put my mask on. And then next thing you know, teachers are being put in situations where they're having conflict, they have to just sort of follow through with these mandated requirements. And I just feel like there's very little consideration for the added stress that adds to a teacher.
Yeah, totally. And it's no wonder that they've got staff shortages now. And I mean, even when the vaccines were available, teachers weren't a priority group. And I couldn't believe that, like, because my brother's a teacher and eventually, like, he finally got vaccinated. He went and got AstraZeneca because he just was like, couldn't get the Pfizer where you get the double dose quickly.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was appalling how they were treated through the pandemic.
Thank you. And then once it became mandated for teachers, there was a really short time frame for them to be double vaccinated. And it was like, okay, now go. It was like rush. And like you said, a lot of teachers were effectively forced into getting, a vaccine brand that they didn't necessarily want to get because they were then threatened with, if you don't have it by this date, you're going to be stood down. And these are people that have families and mortgages and things like that. So, I mean, I do understand how difficult the decisions that were being made were by political leaders, but I don't know. I feel like there was just a real lack of understanding and empathy for what some frontline workers were dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as a paramedic, like, how did it affect your job?
The vaccines or just the whole pandemic?
Maybe the whole pandemic. Is that too big a question?
Oh, yeah. Like, before the pandemic, I loved my job. Like, loved going to work. We got really good morale at our station. There's a really good crew that work in the Illawarra. And then the pandemic came and it just became like so much PPE, so much risk, so much cleaning, like, so extra tasks, like the amount of cleaning we had to do just ate into sort of any chance we would have of getting a crib break. So we do 12-hour shifts, usually don't finish on time. And, so you could do a 12, 13-hour shift without a break. And that's just like...
Wow.
Yeah, all day, taking people to hospital, cleaning up, doffing PPE. And like we're wearing like these...
excuse my ignorance, what's PPE?
Oh, personal protective equipment.
Oh, sorry, personal protective.
So the mask, gowns, gloves.
I figured it was something like that. I'm just like, I'm not down with the acronym. So.
Yeah. But it was, and it was just a lot of stress because there was that time when we were like cleaning all these surfaces and then we're like, no, it's airborne. Like, maybe the surfaces aren't as important, but... but just we didn't. Yeah, you don't have all that information. And in Sydney, they have cleaning teams, and they'll restock your cars and stuff for you. They have people employed for that. But in the Illawarra, we do it all ourselves.
Right. So restocking all the medical equipment and gear and whatever you need.
Yeah.
Wow. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah, we do before.
You do like a stock take.
Yeah. Oh, we sort of you trust your workmates to have left the car in a good state.
Okay.
So you restock and then you hand it over.
You restock for the next crew.
Yeah. Clean everything, mop it all down, and then, refuel it.
Refuel. Okay. So you said that you really liked your job before the pandemic. It sounds like you still like it to a degree, except for the extra things you have to do. But like, what drew you to wanting to become a paramedic in the first place?
It was more lifestyle, I think, than wanting to work in health. It just came up and I wanted a job where I was out in the community and not stuck in an office, and the days off are really good, the conditions are really good. Like, we do two shifts on and 6 off. So I just like the idea of having that sort of lifestyle. Yeah. And, something that was a bit interesting and a bit challenging. Like, the idea of it terrified me, but then so did the idea of running for council. So maybe I like those things.
Do you like being out of your comfort zone?
I think maybe I do.
How do you feel? Okay, here's a question. How do you feel after you've done something you were scared to do?
You just feel that sense of achievement and,
Even if you don't get the result you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, nothing tried, nothing gained. And,
It's a good message to advocate for.
Yeah, you can't be scared of failure. Like, when I ran for council, I was like, I might win, I might lose. whatever happens, we're still very lucky. We've got our house, our family.
Yeah.
So
put in perspective.
Yeah.
Firstly, I've got so much admiration and respect for what you do as a paramedic. And and the same with nurses, doctors, and policemen. I think they're just, really the salt of the earth, humans, amazing people. But your job in particular, I can imagine there'd be you'd be confronted with high levels of trauma or traumatic situations. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not laughing. I'm just the way how casually you answered that. I know that would personally have a big effect on me. But how do you manage that personally when you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis? How do you self-care?
So it's really important for me when I'm at home that I don't really have much to do with work. So I don't check emails. I still have friends that I talk to from work, but I don't really talk about work. I just go home and, it's like you've switched off that part of your life. And then when I'm at work, I just think that, these things happen and someone has to come and help pick up the pieces. And if that's me, then, I know my skills, I know what I can do, I know what I'm capable of and what other people in our team are capable of. So that's just what we do. And we've got all our – it's probably different, if you saw someone get hit by a car, actually seeing that happen is really traumatic, but we turn up afterwards and then we just see the injuries and then we have all the equipment that we, package them up and take them off to hospital. And we can treat pain. You stay very busy, so you don't really have time to think about it.
Okay. Would you say, do you mind if I ask how many years you've been doing it?
I joined in 2009, so 12 years.
Is PTSD a common thing for people who work in your profession?
There's a few. I think there's more in the police. And that comes from that hypervigilance that they have. But yeah, I've definitely seen a few colleagues go down with it. But my way of dealing with it is just not to overwork myself and have that separation.
Yeah. And I love that you said you feel like you're being of service to the community. It really is a service to the community. It's just amazing. But because I am really intrigued. What would you say are some of the biggest dangers of your job at the moment?
I don't know. Probably just workplace injury.
How does that result? From turning up to an accident? So
lifting, carrying, manual handling. Yeah. That's probably the biggest danger.
Not ever in danger from the patients that you're caring for and things like that?
Oh, yeah, that's a possibility, but we get really good support from the police and you get really good at reading situations and, intoxicated people and stuff like that. You just sort of get a sense of what's happening and what the risks are.
Is that a big one that you're dealing with, dealing with intoxicated people? Is that a really common one?
It was before the pandemic.
So what, dealing with alcohol or drug-related injury?
Yeah, when everyone's going out and partying in Wollongong, then, you can get whole nights of that sort of stuff.
Really? Wow. I don't know. It's hard for me to get my head around. And I just love how casual you are about it. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen some stuff. So, you grew up in Wollongong, you went to university here, then you went to California after university, correct?
Yep.
And then directly after university, what did you do? Was it straight into being a paramedic or?
No, I got a job when I got back from overseas, lived in the Gold Coast for a little while and then came down. I had a friend working at a place called Ansto, which is a nuclear facility at Lucas Heights, and I got a job there. He suggested that it was, a good job for what it was. Doing health surveying, so measuring radiation basically. So you go around with the workers and just keep, make sure that they're not spreading radiation or being overexposed. It was pretty, but it was I think that's why I joined the paramedics, because it was boring. It was so boring. You're in this office and just like data and maps and recording information, and I was just, it'd be really good if you were ready to retire.
So you worked there for a while, it was boring, and then did you apply to the paramedics?
Yeah,
or?
then it just came up in the paper, and I'd met my husband, or we weren't married yet, but I met Steve, and so, it just came up, and the same friend who was now doing medicine talked me into doing the paramedics, because it sounded a bit scary, but he was like, no, it'd be really good, like, you'll be right. Give it a go.
Did you consider being a nurse or a doctor?
No, because then I think I'm like moving around, like you're stuck in the hospital. I don't want to be stuck inside.
Yeah, I'm the same actually.
Yeah.
I couldn't work an office job.
Yeah.
I think it'd drive me insane.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know, like there's some benefits to being a nurse or a doctor, like having all those resources at your fingertips. But
what's the training for a paramedic? Like what'd you have to do to study for it, was it?
So now you do a uni degree, and we get graduates that come through.
Okay.
When I did it, you just walk in off the street, do an 8-week course, and then you go out for a year with training officers.
Unpaid?
Paid.
Paid, okay.
Yeah.
On like a traineeship type.
It's a diploma, and then you do a few more courses, and after 3 years you get qualified.
Ah, okay. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. But did you have to have a pre-existing graduate degree?
No, just go in, do your interview, psych test.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they were looking for. I feel like they were looking for common sense.
How do you test for that?
I don't know. I was trying to work out like what is the selection criteria for this, because I just couldn't really. Yeah. Maybe they're just looking for people who are just kind of level-headed and have a bit of common sense.
You seem level-headed.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
I hope so. I guess like my next question is, like, you're a mother of 2 wonderful children. Has been juggling that type of work with parenting been ultra challenging for you?
Not really, because my husband's always around, so he, if I come off night shift or whatever, that's the main thing. You come off night shift, you just need to be able to go to bed. But they're good. They're easy kids. I'm lucky that, well behaved, like happy little kids. So I just try not to work too much.
Well, you can dictate that.
Well, you can do like extra shifts and stuff like that. So I just keep that as a minimum.
But making money is not like something that motivates you?
No, like I make sure we make enough to survive. But it doesn't really money. I don't know. It would be nice to have lots of money, but I don't want to give up time with my kids just to have a fancy car or whatever. But I feel like we are really lucky because we managed to buy a house like 7 years ago when it was still affordable. We lived down in Port Kembla and it was still pretty affordable in that house, in that suburb. So, we don't have a huge mortgage. So we're lucky in that way.
But, I mean, let's say you were trying to get into the market now. Would that be achievable?
No way.
Why? Like maybe for those that don't know, like what's happened here? Oh,
yeah. So in Australia and Wollongong and Sydney, the housing market has just exploded. And there's a few factors causing that. Probably the biggest thing is that governments have you can buy a house and use it as a tax write-off. It favours investors and people use houses to sort of plant their money. So that basically has led to first home buyers, young people, anyone on a lower wage being shut out.
So you're saying that people who have multiple properties are the problem?
Well, there's a number of factors, but I would say yes.
It could be a problem.
Using housing as an investment has led to this crisis. And, I don't think it's supply necessarily that has caused this. I think it's, the Australians are just obsessed with owning houses.
We are, aren't we?
Mm.
Yeah, and then it's like I think people see that like having the investment property as well as this safety backup financial plan. But I guess the knock-on effect is that it's displacing young people from ever buying a property, but it's also gentrifying areas rapidly.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we saw in the northern suburbs. That's why I moved to Port Kembla because, the northern suburbs of Wollongong sort of turned into another suburb of Sydney and we were shut out of that market. And so our only option was to head down south, but that ended up being, a blessing because we love it down there.
Yeah, great. Oh, it's a win. But again, like who is actually like what echelon of our society is able to afford in certain areas now? I mean, what sort of income do you have to be on,
Either that or just because you're already in the market.
And you've got equity in other properties.
Yeah. And like say you've sold in Sydney.
Yeah.
And that's because the price is just going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, this governments talk about, they don't want to do anything to drop housing prices because then people who already own a house would lose money. But if you already own one house, why would you care? Because then if the other houses go down in value, then it shouldn't really matter that your house has gone down in value.
Ooh, good point.
So I don't see that as an argument.
And then combined with low interest rates, it's this perfect storm. And that's when the real estate agents come in and do what they do, and that's get the best price possible for the person selling. Yeah. Okay, which drives prices up, and effectively the real estate agents are dictating the market.
Yeah, or I don't know if it's...
Or is it, I know banks have just recently restricted their consumer lending. So I think, banks have the ability to regulate the market too, to make it more difficult in lending money. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so much that plays into it. It's probably beyond my knowledge. But, all I know is what I see, and there is a total crisis in housing. And in this city, like we're going to get to a point where essential workers won't be able to even afford to rent in this city. And we're already seeing like they can't find hospitality workers. Like we get first-time uni students or new grads to Wollongong. They love it. They stay for a little bit. Sometimes we even let them live above the station because they can't find anywhere to live. And like we've got a little unit there. And then they have to leave. They end up going to the country or wherever because there's no way that they would be able to afford to stay here.
Yeah, well, that was my question. Like where do these people go? Like where do low to middle class income earners, where do they go? And then I guess the conundrum is too is like, well, I guess they go away from built up areas like cities and stuff like that, and they go out into, like you said, the country and deep into the suburbs. But then the problem is like those built up areas also need essential workers to service that area. So then there's going to be no one to work. You know what I mean? There's going to be no one to be able to supply the need for those essential workers, and then essential workers are then required to travel long distances to work as well.
Yep. Even in places like West Dapto in housing estates out there, there's houses selling for like $950,000 and they're just standard little houses on blocks in estates. Like in subdivided estates, How could anyone afford that? Like unless they're already in the market.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It seems like they do. Like people just are now so resigned to the fact that they'll just be in mortgage debt literally for the rest of their life. And then they'll probably pass that debt on to their children. And that's just fully acceptable now.
Yeah.
Whereas I think my parents' generation had this notion of that, you would own your house before you retired or around the time you retired, Then you could give that to your children and give them a head start.
Yeah. And if you don't have like secure, stable housing, like it limits what else you can do in your life if you don't like I can work part-time as a paramedic and pay my mortgage, and I have time off to do things like engage in local government and do other things like that, like beach cleanups and tree planting and stuff like that, like really good community stuff. But if I was in massive mortgage stress, I would be at work like every day trying to pay that. I'd miss out on seeing my kids, and it's really sad. Yeah,
you'd end up working like longer hours or second jobs just to meet your financial obligations. And the irony is that then you're never actually in the house. You're never there.
Yeah. damn house.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one. But like, why is community building and development important to you personally? Well, what do you like about it?
I think I didn't do any of this sort of stuff when I lived in the northern suburbs, and then when I moved to Port Kembla, there was such a strong sense of community, and they had these laneways with community gardens, and they had like community events, and it was really multicultural, and I just loved it. Like, thought it was so cool that everyone just hangs out and a lot of that came from the local community centre, which is our community project. They organised a lot of the events and started all that. And then so I was sort of just drawn to that organisation, and I just love it. Like, I just think it's great. Like, it's so powerful having a strong community. And like, I know I said that you can get a lot done with politics. You can also get a lot done with community. And if community wants something and all work together and or fight for something, push for something, then you can make things happen. And
okay, I'm gonna hit you with the question: is it better to ask permission or ask for forgiveness?
Forgiveness, of course.
Such an activist. That's extremist. No, the reason I ask that is because I know just of late, I know you campaigned for the building of more skate parks in our local area, which, I'm so on board for, obviously, because I love skateboarding. And I think skateboarding itself just breeds beautiful subculture and community amongst young people. It's really hard for people to understand unless they're involved in it, but I can see that you understand it. The recent building, well, it's been there for a number of years, but it's just really started to expand. It's this DIY skateboard park in your local area, and you and your awesome husband and some other people and friends in the community have just built like a really nice skateboard ramp now on a public space. Did you ask for permission for that?
Yes, there was a meeting.
Okay, with the council?
Yes, with the council.
Fantastic.
So the park started sort of in lockdown. The kids were bored, and we've been asking for a skate park in Port Kembla. I think some of the mums that came down said that, 15 years they've been asking for a skate park. So after it sort of started off with just a few features, it was getting really well used. In like lockdown, there would be like 20 kids down there, and they'd all finish their homeschool and head straight down there. It was awesome. And then we wanted to make it better, and so some people decided that T-shirt fundraiser, so raise some money to get some skate light, put on everything, make it a bit safer. And then after they raised, like, the T-shirts just went off. They made a few $1,000s.
Amazing.
And then they were like, well, if we're going to spend all this money, we probably should ask council. So they didn't take it all away. So there was a meeting. I wasn't at that meeting, but there was some – council actually said they love it, and they love seeing that, the community's pushing for this, and just as long as we make it safe, don't make anything too, like, more than a metre high. They were going to put up a sign to say, skate at your own risk. At your own risk. And they just pointed out a few things that needed to be made safer. So then that became the focus, to just fix up what was there. And then, then someone donated a mini ramp, which was assembled last weekend.
It's amazing. It's a great mini ramp. It's fun too. Yeah. Yeah, I just love, because like DIY skate spots are quite common in the skate community around the world, where skaters do just get together and they'll find abandoned spaces that are just being completely unused, and then just turn them into something, turn it into a hub of creativity. Effectively, it often brings like street artists to that zone as well, and they'll beautify it with their graffiti and their street art and stuff like that. So I just think that I just love it personally when I see people just, I don't want to sound militant, but like the whole idea of DIY, like do it yourself, because I feel like sometimes I think people feel that if you try to go through the correct avenues in our society, that you can get really like weighed down with like, bureaucracy and red tape and possible, I don't know, insurance problems. So do you think there is a place for that type of thing? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the community leading their own way.
Yeah.
And I think eventually that spot will turn into a skate park.
Yeah.
Because at the moment there's a master plan for that area and they want to make it, fence it all off and put a tennis court there.
Yeah.
And I just think that this community action will hopefully mean that will be a skate park.
Yeah.
Because it is such a little hub.
But how can councils and governments support that and not oppose it? Because if I was a government, I'd be like, oh, great, we've got a community here that actually just wants to do things and they're not pestering us to get everything done. They're just going to do it themselves. Like, how could a government flip the model and go, okay, like, there's a place for this?
You know what the answer is. We
What
need
is
more
it?
Greens on council.
I was trying to setting you up for that.
No, I mean, it's true though.
I mean, is that a common Greens policy? I mean, is this what the Greens stand for?
Well,
Community action, community
Greens
development.
politicians are generally community people that have been involved in activism or community work and then fallen into politics. They're not career politicians.
Okay.
So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, okay. Maybe would you say that they're less commonly... They come from backgrounds that are maybe more middle class? Or is that just too general?
I guess so. I'm not really sure. Yeah. I mean, they're probably just more grassroots. Like they attract that. The party
Grassroots.
sort of attracts grassroots people. Like if you're gonna, if I was like career politician, I've left school, I want to be a politician, I'd probably join the Liberal Party. Like if I didn't really have any like really core like principles that like to do with environmentalism or community or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't,
What would you say to a young person who is sitting on the fence politically right now?
I would say value your vote and be engaged and know who you're voting for. And it is really important, and don't get depressed. Like there is still hope and there is still optimism, and there's lots of good people out there who are trying to make a better world, and back them up, be engaged. And I just think it's really important for young people to just not shut off. Like I know it is depressing and the future doesn't look that great at the moment, but you know, we've overcome a lot of things, and if we get the right people in there's a federal election coming up, and it's a really, really important election. And if you're, get engaged, and even more important than voting is to actually support the candidates. And if you really believe in something, see if you want to volunteer, if you want to campaign, like that is massive. Like, and that's something that I really lacked in Ward 3 because we don't have a big base of Greens in Ward 3 because we've never had a Green on council there. I mean, I was lucky because Ward 1 and 2 people came and helped me campaign, but, if I feel like we could have got that extra couple of % if I had that, grassroots support to get us over the line, and then maybe we could have got that skate park.
We need that skate park, and I think you've just given some good examples of how someone can become engaged, like volunteering, campaigning. I sense that there's apathy with volunteering these days. I feel like there's less people volunteering. Like, give me a suggestion for a really basic way a young person could become engaged at the most basic level to increase their understanding, even ever so slightly.
With politics?
Yeah.
Even just signing up for like the mailing list. Like you don't necessarily have to join the party.
Yeah.
You can follow people on social media, like be engaged with what they're posting, send them an email, ask them a question. Like I had lots of people asking questions in the campaign, and it was awesome. Like,
You liked it?
yeah, it was great because I uncovered like issues that like for next time, if I do run again, then like I'll hopefully be able to tap into those things that the people were asking for.
Yeah.
Like it started off with skate parks, and then, you know, you had lots of people writing like about footpaths, bike paths. Some people liked the Green stance on decriminalising marijuana. Like those sorts of issues became things that I could talk to people about, and it was really good to engage.
What is the Green stance on decriminalising marijuana, just out of curiosity?
So we want to relax the laws. So
it's not a criminal offence?
Yeah.
Or maybe more in line with ACT's?
Yeah, so
rules?
Make it so I guess the slogan is relax it and tax it. So it could become an industry for the government basically, instead of drug dealers.
And like remove sort of help reduce the black market.
Yeah.
That's what those laws do. They create a black market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop people smoking it or whatever, or taking it. Like,
that's what cracks me up. Like it never has.
Yeah.
The war on any drug, it's people, no matter how strict the laws are, people find a way.
Yeah.
So
it's bizarre. It's like we should probably think about decriminalising all of it, and instead of becoming a police problem, it's a health issue. And
like harm minimisation approach.
Yeah, totally.
That way. I mean, that's why like when I went to Holland and Amsterdam, I did a tour of not just like the whole city. I did a tour of the city, and then they did a vast tour of the red light district and all the coffee shops, which is where people can, smoke marijuana or use marijuana. And then they just gave a really deep insight into what it's actually done for the community. And they said that when they actually legalised marijuana, the local use rates actually went down. So people stopped using it for recreational purposes. Medicinal purposes, it became used more. And then the revenue that it created was then put into supporting sex workers, again, which is challenging for people, I guess, morally. But again, the other reality is like, no matter how regulated that is, people still, choose to engage in that type of way to earn income. So I just think it's such much more of a pragmatic approach. Like, and if nothing changes, nothing's going to change. Nothing changes, right? So
yeah, I know we've been sort of going round in circles with it for a while, and so maybe it's time to try something different and have some more progressive policies, I think. Yeah,
like I know CBD products have been legalised now in Australia, so there's no THC in those products. But I don't know. I just think it's a really positive step forward in terms of progressive approaches to alternative therapies. I know it's the medicinal use of marijuana is now proven. So anyway, bit of a rant, sorry.
It's all good.
So I guess what's next for you in terms of like, okay, so you've your wonderful family, you've just campaigned, you're still a paramedic. Like where do you see yourself in the future?
I don't know. I'm just going to have some downtime, go back to work, just get back to, like, in some ways not winning the election. I'm sort of like, wow, I've got all this time now, and get back. We do a bit of bush care at Port Kembla. We'll keep campaigning for a skate park. And just do community stuff and see where it takes me. Yeah,
nice. Well, listen, it's been epic. It's been a great chat. I'm so grateful for your time and energy. But I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause that they want to support or advocate for. Kind of sprung this on you. I always forget to mention it before the show, but I know, I think fundamentally you've sort of advocated for a lot of things, like vote for the Greens, for example. But is there any sort of charities or initiatives you'd like to maybe raise awareness about today?
So my local community centre, our community project.
Yep.
They got a new website.
Okay.
So
what's that one called?
I think it's ourcommunityproject.org.
Okie dokie.
Jump on that, and they've got heaps of different programs you can be involved with or support. They do things like Culture Bank, which supports artists. They've got Tender Funerals, which is a non-for-profit funeral home.
Wow.
Sorry, just bringing that on you at the end.
That's amazing.
They do like Port Locals, which is, the Men's Shed, the Sewing Group. They do bush care, plant trees. Like, they're really awesome. So get onto their website and see what they're all about. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I didn't know they did all that. I didn't know there was a Men's Shed there.
Yeah.
In Port.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they got a little hall you can rent. We just had that renovated.
Yeah.
Like it's really beautiful now. So,
Well, if you scroll down on this episode, there will be a link to it's our community.
our community project.
Our community project. There'll be a link to that website. So get on, see how you can be involved. Obviously, donating money is always a good thing, but I definitely believe in being active and seeing how you can personally, volunteer or support. I think that's always much more powerful and much better for community development and cohesion. So if you scroll down, it's on terriblehappytalks.com and you can also find this podcast episode on a variety of other platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. But whatever platform that you like to listen on, it always helps me if you could, rate and leave a review, and just helps the show, get more exposure and all that sort of stuff, so we can spread good messages. Now, the next thing, Jess, is I have a present for you.
Oh, thank
I do.
you.
It's a little present. I've got a Terrible Happy Talks t-shirt for you. What size are you?
Medium.
Would you like a medium? Yeah, I'll get you a medium, and I've got some THC stickers. Actually, what colour do you want? Grey or white? Let's have a look here.
Whatever.
Say grey.
Sounds good.
Congratulations, there's a grey one.
Thank you. Awesome.
And you get some THC stickers, and there we go. Thanks, Jess.
Great.
And I think that's us, Jess. Like, such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You got to run again.
Yeah,
We need a skate park. We need more skate parks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think the skate community is generally pretty small, but like, I think anyone that is pushing for more skate parks, like, you've won my vote. Purely for selfish reasons.
2024. We'll see.
2024.
But yeah,
You can do it.
we can still get things done with Kath and Mithra there.
Okay.
So we should back them in and keep at them about skate parks.
Okay. Keep at them about skate
I will be.
parks. That's the spirit. Do your kids skate? They do, don't they?
A little bit.
I mean, is that what piqued your interest?
No, Steve loves it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's your husband.
Yes.
So
he's a frother. I've always skated.
He's a frother.
But I'm more of a surfer.
He's a frother.
I just
He's
love
a frother.
I love the culture. I just love, like, even if you don't skate, I just love being at skate parks. I think they're awesome.
God, you understand. I feel so nice to be understood. Your husband is a frother. I love it. I was skating with him yesterday. He's like, man, I'm 50. I was like, yeah, you are. But he said it. He said it with the enthusiasm of a 25-year-old.
Oh, he's so funny.
And that's what you can't take that away. Like,
No.
It's beautiful.
No.
All right. Well, it's been such a pleasure, and enjoy. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, Miss Jess Whitaker, everybody.